6th of July, Rabbi Levitt, Gemora.
Yeah, okay. This is Hashem. So we have a lot of nachas.
What's he doing now? Surely.
What's he doing? He's doing a certain amount of he's doing a certain amount of fundraising for Tzama Nafshi. He's doing that, and yeah. I think he also learns. He lives over there in the new section of Telstone.
Oh, yeah.
He's relatively close to Rabbi Fairman over there.
All right.
Yeah. Here, I'll unmute. Okay. Okay, so we're finished with the section of Rava, and now we go on to the question of Rav Papa, boy Rav Papa. This can be found on 96a, all the way down at the bottom of the Amud. We are about to make a siyum in 96a.
Hooray!
Wow. Baruch Hashem. Okay. So we'll call upon Roy to start off the reading here in Baba Kama as well. Boy Rav Papa.
Okay. Boy Rav Papa. Rav Papa inquired. Nachalaka. No, hang on. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
Nechlaka hatiyomes mahu. If one steals a lulav and its twin leaf became split in two, what is the law? Does this constitute a change and affect acquisition? The Gemora resolves the inquiry. Tar Shema, come and learn a resolution from the following. Amar Rabbi Masun, Amen, Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi. For Rabbi Masun said, in the name of Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, Nitalach Hatiyomes Apostle. If the twin leaf was removed, the lulav is invalid for the mitzvah of taking lulav on sukkahs. If I turn over, there must be.
Yes.
Yeah, I turn over.
Hooray!
Round of applause for
Oh.
96A, Baba Kama, a Gozel Eitzim.
Oh, just a minute.
Wow.
I've got a special round of applause here for you.
Yeah.
Here's well, just a minute. Oh, sorry. All right. Right. So, what did I just say? Oops. So it's invalid for the mitzvah of taking a lulav on sukkahs. May lev hu hadin linchelake. It is not presumable that the same law that the lulav becomes invalid applies if the twin leaf was split. I'm not too sure what I'm saying. The resolution is rejected. Law, no. Natila Shani, the splitting of the twin leaf does not invalidate the lulav for the mitzvah. For the removal of the twin leaf is different. For there, the lulav is not whole.
Okay.
And then there's an alternative version of the resolution. Will I read that?
Okay.
Eka de Amari, some say the following version. Ta Shema, come and learn a resolution from the following. Do'amar Rabbi Mahun, Omar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, for Reb Masun said in the name of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Nachalaka Hatiomes Naasa Kamesh Shenitala Apostle. The twin leaf was split. It is considered as if the twin leaf was removed and the lulav is invalid. Shema Mina, learn from this that if one steals a lulav and its twin leaf is then split in two, the lulav is considered as having undergone a change and the robber acquires it.
Okay. Very interesting.
We said
So-
before you needed two elements. One was the change and the other was the change of the name. How come it doesn't mention the change of the name here?
Good question. Well, be a question actually. In fact, does it does it have a change? Would we call a puzzle lulav a lulav?
Well, you still call a pencil that's, you say that the pencil has broken its lead. You still call it a pencil.
Yeah, I'm with Roy.
What's the proof from the pencil?
If the pencil is useful if it's got a sharpened lead on it, right? And
Right.
if lead breaks, the pencil is, as it were, fossil. It can't be used anymore for its purpose.
Could you go get a pencil sharpener though?
You can get a pencil sharpener, but it's still called a pencil, even in its state of yeah.
But actually, you're making a significant distinction, Rabbi. I think that in the case of the lulav, it can't be put back. It's permanently changed.
But what about a match? What about a match then? Okay,
Permanently puzzle.
I'll take it. I'll change it to a match. You burn a matchstick. It's still a matchstick. You still call it a matchstick, but you can't put it back again. You can't reuse it ever again.
Good point. What else could we call a lulav besides a lulav? A palm frond?
Well, in other words, you would call it a there's two types of lulavs. There's a lulav which is kosher. There's a lulav which is puzzle. But the fact that it's puzzle doesn't we still call it a lulav. But what I think your question was that we don't see any discussion over here in the Gemora about the issue altogether of
Exactly.
of the fact that it was it's initially a lulav, and now it's also called a lulav. It's just called a lulav, which is puzzle, similar to what we said before. We said before, when somebody takes kishure, he takes a like a board, and he cuts it down, and we had a case. What was it called over here?
From a beam to a plank.
Well,
had
we
a
even have a
case-
better example. We have the example of the lulav. On the previous page, Rava said he stole a lulav and made it into leaves. He acquires them. For originally it was called a lulav, and now it's called leaves.
Right, but over there, in addition to that, Rashi pointed out over there that once you took off all the, Rashi pointed out in Dibra Maskil, well, he actually pointed this out with the broom. Once you divide all of the leaves, and you divide them in two, Rashi said the su lo hadra. At that point, after you had divided the leaves in two, they never are able to be restored to their previous state.
Right.
And that, for that reason, it's called a grade A shinui. Whereas we said in regard to the
And I just told them for later. I was going to try and do Swedish before.
we said if he stole a broom and he made the broom into a rope, he made rope with the broom, we said he's not Kona, even though a broom is not a rope and a rope is not a broom. So it has a different name altogether. But we said that even though it has even though the name is different, but since it's he's not going to be Kona. The Gazlan won't be Kona simply with the name change, because Hadar Sosale Vahabe Hufya. He could undo the strands of material on the rope, and then he'll have his be able to make his broom again. So we see from what the Gemora said before Rav Papa asked his question, that unless it's a permanent change, the name change will not be sufficient to make a kinyan for the Gazlan.
Right, but my question is from the other direction.
Right. So over here, so would you say as follows? Would you say that if we see in the previous sugya that even though there was a name change, but it's not going to be sufficient because why? Because it's hadar, because it can be restored back to its original state of being a broom. So but in this case, we have a lulav, and now we're invalidating the lulav, and it will never be able to be valid again. So we say that so if it won't, so it's permanently changed from its status of being a lulav kosher to being a lulav puzzle. So we say Rav Papa says that's enough to say that the Gazlan has acquired it. even though there's would seem to not be a name change. And furthermore, that would seem to be borne out by the fact that the Gemora doesn't make any mention of the name over here, as though to say that it doesn't make it doesn't really make a difference. It doesn't really make a difference.
So what I'm saying is that it seems to me that there is a stira here. Because in the case of taking the lulav and making it into leaves, the change is permanent. And therefore, there's no reason for the Gemora to continue and say that the name has changed. Here, the change is permanent, and it doesn't discuss the name change, and it says that it's acquired. So the implication of Rava's statement is that you do need to have both, and the implication of Rav Papa is that you don't need to have both.
Oh. Okay, very interesting. So well, the thing though is that Rav Papa, he was just the one that posed the shaila. He didn't answer his shaila. The Gemora answered the shaila. And the Gemora says we have a raya. We can answer Rav Papa's inquiry based upon the statement of Rav Masan Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. So the Gemara is saying that in this case, let's you know what? Let's take a look at Rashi. Maybe Rashi will help us out over here. Maybe he'll mention this matter.
Okay,
So we have a
love.
we got a Rashi on Amud Aleph. The last Rashi on Amud Aleph.
Okay, sorry. Let's see what we got here. Shara Chevel.
Sure, yeah, that was the previous Gemara that he stole a chufya and he made from it a sharshura.
Oh, right, and that says that it's chevel, it's garbage. Okay, that's not the one we're doing. He's yo mas. Hatiomas. What is that? Hitiomas.
That's your top middle leaf in your lulav.
That's what they call the twin leaf.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though in truth all of them are twin leaves, right?
Right.
That's what we just got through saying, but that one's the critical one.
Right. It's the one that's in the middle on the top.
Yeah.
And it's the one that's critical to the being puzzle or kosher.
Right.
Okay. So kaf tomar ha imtsae ha elyon chiyumas. Chiyumas.
That's the tiomas.
Tiomas.
He. That is the tiomas. Rashi's describing for us where is the tiomas on your lulav. He's saying it's the kaf tomer. Why he says kaf is I guess just a manner of expression over here. Kaf, we understand kaf means you call a spoon a kaf, you call kafayad, the palm of your hand. So he calls it over here. He's describing the middle leaf. He calls it kaf tomer. The tomer is another expression, another word for the palm.
So
Like
it's-
Tomer
so
Devora.
It's the palm of the hand. Kaf tomer is the palm of the hand.
It's the I think he's using the word kaf to describe it's used over here like a leaf. It's the palm leaf. Kaf tomer means the palm leaf.
Oh, the palm leaf. Okay.
A tomer is the palm. That's right.
Tomer is a palm, like Tomer Devora.
Devora. Yeah.
Okay. In the middle of the top.
Right?
Tumas he. What's tumas?
That's the name of this top middle palm leaf. Teomas he. It is the teomas.
Okay, so in other words, he's just defining the word teomas.
Right? He's telling you where it is, what it is, and where it is.
Right. It's the palm leaf that's in the middle of the top.
It's the highest leaf, and it's in the middle. Because if you take a look at the top of your lulav, you'll see that it's the one which is in the middle, which is the highest leaf.
Right.
And that's what when you go to the Rav to have him check your lulav to make sure that it's a kosher one. So this is one of the first things that he does when you give him the lulav. He tries to locate by picking through the various leaves over there to try to locate the teomas and to see what shape the teomas is in. And hopefully after he's picked around your lulav all like that, he hasn't parceled it with all of his investigation and looking around and poking around. But anyway,
You can't have fat fingers.
that's the way to do it. Is the only way to do it. You have to poke around to try to find it. And generally they're strong and they're both sides of the teomas is made up of two sides of a leaf together. It's grows together. It's generally a very strong, and nothing's going to happen to it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the teomas. Teomas right. He over there means it is the teomas.
Right. Right. Okay, so that doesn't really help us.
Yeah, because we know what a teomas is.
Right, because we've got the art scroll. Okay, so should I read the next one?
Yeah, now the next Rashi, my love, huadin lenechlecha.
Lenechlecha. Is it not the same law as if it was split? So we're saying that if it's removed, is it the same law if it's removed as if it was split? That's Rav Papa's question.
Yeah, actually, in other words,
no, that's Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi.
This is his proof. The Toshma over here, Toshma is coming here a proof to Rav Papa's question. Rav Papa asked the question: if the Goslin steals the teomas, and I guess he steals the lulav altogether, and when after he steals it, he splits the tiomus in half. He splits it, right? But it's still there in the lulav. You could, if you show it to the Rav, and the Rav says, "I'm sorry, your lulav is puzzle," and you say, "What? What do you mean it's puzzle? It looks so nice." He says, "Yes. If you take a look over here, you'll see your tiomus is split. It's split all the way, split 5 inches down. It's a completely puzzle." And so Rav Papa wants to know, will that the tiomus was split after the Goslin stole the lulav, will that mean that the Goslin has acquired the lulav now? Because there's now been an essential change in this lulav. It's now totally puzzle. It's hardly a lulav. You can't use it anymore. What good is a lulav? What good is a lulav which is puzzle? What is it? It has some function to it. It's got absolutely no function. So Rav Papa is asking the question, and along comes the Gemora. The Gemora says, "Toshma, we've got a proof that it's going to prove that if that's what happened with the Goslin, so then in fact he has acquired it." What's the proof? Because Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says that he's talking not about that the tiomus was split. He's talking about the tiomus was removed altogether from the lulav. Nitla. Nitla means it was removed. It was taken. The tiomus was taken from the lulav. It's no longer attached in its proper place to the lulav altogether. So that, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, is puzzle. You can't use that lulav right now. And
Which
on that
doesn't answer the question.
Oh, right. That's just now what the proof is. The so-called proof that the Gemora is giving is what the Gemora now says when it says my love hu adin lenechlaka.
Which still doesn't answer the question.
So what? So Rashi explains what is the Gemora's proof over here?
Okay. The Kevan de la Inyan Pasul Mipsula le Inyan Makne. Since the matter of being invalid is the matter of being acquired. Nami shinui hu ukni. Also, the change is an acquisition. Am I translating this phrase "puzzle mi psule" correctly?
Okay, let's go over it again. So the words of the Gemara are my love hu adin lenechlaka. Gemara, what does that mean? That means, isn't it also the case? Isn't it also the din in regard to the matter of nechlaka, that when the tiomus is split, that even though it is still there attached to the lulav, nevertheless, the fact that it's split is also going to make the lulav just as puzzle as if you had taken the tiomus away from the lulav and it's no longer there on the lulav altogether. That's what the words of the Gemora mean. Now, what we have to do is understand what is the proof to Rav Papa's question about that. And that's what Rashi is coming to explain. So Rashi says like this: Keven de le'inyan psul, since in regard to the matter of invalidation of a lulav for the mitzvah of daled minim, mifsala, it is in fact an invalidation if the tiomis is split. It's not necessary that it be totally removed from the lulav in order to be invalid, but even if the tiomis is split, if it's nechlika means it's split, it's divided. If it's even huadin, the nechlika, even if it's divided, it will also be puzzle in regard to the matter of the validity of the lulav for the mitzvah, to fulfill the mitzvah. It will be puzzle also in the event that the tiomis is split. That's step number 1 in Rashi. Then Rashi goes to step number 2, which is the raya. So after mifsla, we have a comma, and then Rashi continues with step 2. Le'inyan mikne, in regard to the issue of kinyan, that's Bava Kama. Up until now, we've been talking about halachas of lulav. Now, in step 2, we're going to the halachas of Bava Kama. Is there going to be a kinyan over here? So that's the issue over here. And Rashi says, explaining the Gemora, le'inyan mikna, in regard to the matter of acquisition, nami, also, shinuihu, this, that the tiomis has been split, even though it was not totally removed from the lulav, that constitutes a shinui. That makes it for the halachas of kinyan, it makes a shinui in the lulav. It's forever irretrievably puzzle. So that makes a transformation of this lulav from being a lulav which is capable of fulfilling the mitzvah of daled minim to a worthless palm frond that you can that's worth about 2 shekel. You bought it for 180 shekel, and now it's worth 2 shekel. Who's going to buy it now? It's puzzle. So it's that's called a shinui. That for sure is a shinui, and therefore bekani, and therefore the gazan will be koinen. So
my question has not been answered.
yeah,
All Rashi has done is said that the shinui is sufficient to affect acquisition. But he hasn't addressed the stira, which is that when Rava talked about it, he found it necessary to say that the name changed in addition to the fact that there was a shinui.
Does a name change apply to every situation?
That's the question. I'm saying that the implication of Rava is yes. You need the name change in every situation.
yeah. Rava was constantly Rava was the one who said initially it was a luliva, and now it's called chutze. So for Rava, that was Rava didn't mention anything about the fact that there was a a shinui in the functioning of the lulav. He just mentioned the fact that it used to be a lulav because it had all of its leaves attached, and now it's called just a group of leaves. It's not called a lulav anymore. And it's interesting because Rava did not get into the whole issue of whether the lulav was kosher or the lulav was pasul. That was not Rava's issue at all. He just called it a lulav. Rava was not the one that said anything about tiomis. If you're talking about tiomis, Rav Papa brought up the issue of tiomis. The tiomis affects the kashrus of the lulav. Rava didn't mention anything about the kashrus of the lulav. He called it a lulav, regardless of whether it had a tiomis or not. And the reason why the Goslin acquires it now is because it used to be a lulav, and now it's just called a bunch of leaves, because all the leaves were detached from the spine of the lulav, and as such, it doesn't it's not you wouldn't call it a lulav anymore, regardless of whether it's pasul or kosher.
So maybe maybe we can conclude from Rava that you only need one. Either you need a shinui or you need a name change. And in this case, there's no shinui, but there is a name change.
Well,
the footnote says that the Toras Chaim says that the Gemora here is dealing with one who stole an invalid lulav, in which case the tearing off of the leaves did not change the status of the lulav from valid to invalid. Hence, the Gemora must give a different reason for the robber's acquisition.
What? Which Gemara is he learning over here? That's not the way Rashi explained the Gemara. Are you? Maybe that's a different place in the Gemara that he's commenting on.
Well, it's the footnote is on the word hutse, leave.
Right. That's the case of Rava.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That Rava, maybe we're reading Rava wrong. I was reading Rava to say there has to be a shinui and a name change. But maybe, according to the Toras Chaim, there is no shinui.
Yeah.
Maybe there's only a name change, in which case there's no stira.
Well, 1 second. Read again what the Toras Chaim is saying over here.
Toras Chaim answers that the Gemara here is dealing with one who stole an invalid lulav, in which case the tearing off of the leaves did not change the status of the lulav from valid to invalid.
Okay.
Hence, the Gemara must give a different reason for the robber's acquisition.
Okay. So you hear what the Toras Chaim is saying. Toras Chaim is saying that this lulav that Rava was talking about must have been a invalid lulav. Maybe why was it invalid? Maybe it was maybe the tiomis was split, so it's invalid. But nevertheless, Rava regards that as it still has a name of being a lulav. It's still called a lulav. So you wouldn't. So therefore, the only way to say that the Goslin acquired over here is to create a is to create a name change in the article that was stolen. There's a shinui in terms of the shame of the lulav.
Right.
It's no longer called, it doesn't have a shame of it being a lulav. It was originally a lulav, albeit a lulav which was invalid for the mitzvah, but the Rava still regards that as being a lulav. It's got a shame, it's got an official shame as a lulav. And the only reason that the Goslin acquired it is because he made it ois lulav. It's no longer a lulav now. It's just a bunch of detached leaves. It's called right now. We would describe what the Goslin has over there is chutze. It's leaves. It's not a lulav.
Right.
But the implication is, what's the implication? What the Torah's Chaim is going with the supposition that Rava would likewise agree. Rava would likewise agree that if the Goslin took a lulav, which was kosher lulav, it had a teomis that was not split, not removed. It was still on the lulav, and then the Goslin took it, and then it got removed or split, and now it's called a lulav, which is puzzle. What the Torah's Chaim has accomplished is saying that Rava would also agree in that case that the Goslin would be kona, albeit on a different basis. Even though it has the same shame, but a shinui has occurred in that lulav. It's now not a lulav which is capable of being used for a mitzvah, and that just like it went from being kosher for a mitzvah to being puzzled to a mitzvah, that will also be that also is an indication that it has undergone a shinui for the purposes of kinyan, of the Goslin, and the Goslin will be kona. So what the Torah's Chaim has done is he's explained the case of Rava in such a way that Rava is not going to be arguing with what the Gemora has explained in the case of Rav Papa.
Right.
Okay. Yasher koyach, everyone.
So if you wouldn't mind, Rabbi, next time I'd like to review these three cases: the lulav that becomes leaves, the leaves that become a broom, and the broom that becomes a rope.
Okay, very good.
Just to understand the two aspects of the shinui and the name change, and how they work with each of the three examples.
Oh, right, because we didn't reconcile the case of the broom and the rope.
Right, and I'm a little clear now, just kind of scanning it without reading it carefully, because I have to pay attention to what you're saying. But just scanning it quickly, I don't get it.
We got to find out what the Torah's Chaim said about that case.
Yeah, I think maybe I'll read it over and I'll read the footnotes before tomorrow, so that I'm ready.
Thank
That's
you.
the Torah's Chaim. Okay, very good.
All right, thank you so
Torah's
much.
Chaim.
All right, see you tomorrow
All the best.
morning. Met Hashem.
It's
Bye.
Hashem.
Okay, see ya.
Have a good day.
Okay,
Bye,
very good
Alan.
day.
Bye,
Good day.
Lou. Bye, Roy.
Alan, I'm assuming there's no share.